Hey, thanks, Sam. And hello to all of you listening in. Thanks for joining us today. What we're going to be talking about today are the new servicing rules. These came about as a result of changes made to the Truth in Lending Act and the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act by the new sheriff in town, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Those spawned corresponding amendments to Regulation X and Regulation Z. And when you think about the changes, they fall into about 9 different categories that are shown on page 1 of your materials that range from new periodic mortgage billing statement requirements to changes in notifications that must be sent in advance when there's going to be a rate adjustment on an adjustable rate mortgage loan. They tell you what's required in terms of prompt processing of payments, how to handle payoff statement requests, how you must respond to notices of error or requests for information, and what the timing requirements are for you to respond to those things, what you are required to do before you can impose a charge on a consumer for force-placing hazard insurance, and then a laundry list of various matters that relate to delinquent borrowers. Now, these rules took effect January 10th of 2014, along with a number of the other Dodd-Frank spawned rules, but one aspect of these is very, very different from the other rules. Many of the other rules apply to loans for which applications are received on or after the effective date of the rules. Not these. These don't only apply to the loans for which applications were received on or after January 10th of 2014. They apply certainly to those loans, but they also apply to any loans that are already in your portfolio that fall within the scope of coverage of these requirements. Now, one of the things that you'll see as we go through here is that the requirements are divided between Reg Z and Reg X. So you always have to think in terms of where is this requirement found, because that will help you understand what type of loans are going to be covered by the requirement. In other words, not all of these requirements apply to the same type of loans. For resources, there's no better place than the alphabet soup section of bankersonline.com, which is kept up by John Burnett. And not only can you find the changes that were made in the original final rules, but also all of the amendments that were made during 2013 to the final rule before the final rule even took effect this January. They're all assimilated and provided for you, and we were kind of excited when they issued some of these rules because, as you know, it's the first time we've had official commentary for Regulation X. When Reg X was under the jurisdiction of HUD, there was no official commentary. Instead, we had FAQs, we had the RESPA roundup, and we had no end of fun. So that is all beginning to change. But not only can you get the full text of the regulation and commentary as it currently is and as it used to be on the alphabet soup section, but on the bottom of the pages for Reg X and for Reg Z, you will find a table that shows all of the regulatory developments on a reverse chronological basis. It'll tell you what their status is, what they entailed, and it will give you a link through to the Federal Register. The CFPB has also put out some helpful information. The information that it has about the Reg X and Reg Z servicing changes is part of its mortgage implementation page, mortgage rule implementation, and it even has some nifty charts. So with that, we're going to plunge right in. And Andy and I have talked pretty extensively about this webinar, and one of the things that we said was, you know, these servicing rules come to bear at different times during the life of the loan and at different times in terms of their implementation. So you had a lot of hurry up, get it done when it came to getting your periodic mortgage billing statements ready, because you had to have those so that they could be used immediately following the January 10th, 2014 effective date. On the other hand, when it comes to some of the things that relate to delinquent borrowers, perhaps on January 10th, you didn't have any delinquent borrowers for the type of loans that we're talking about. And it may be months on down the road, depending upon the financial condition of your borrowers, the health of your local economy. So you may not have grappled with them as much. These regulations are astonishingly complex, and you have had to embrace them in layers over time. So the first layer was to find out what is the new requirement, and then later layers are, okay, we understand we have to give this or that disclosure and notice. We have multiple applicants or multiple borrowers. Who do we give it to? What is our timing on this? How do electronic copies come into play? So now that these rules have taken effect, it's time to get down to the real nitty-gritty. You will see that on page 3, you have a list of the sections where these new provisions are found. In RESPA's Reg X, what they tended to do, instead of just going in and making extensive amendments to existing sections of the reg, they instead just created a bunch of new sections that they put most of the new provisions within. So any citation that you see within the materials that is to 1024, 1026, you should understand it to mean that that's within Title 12 of the Code of Federal Regulations. 1024 is the RESPA Reg X. 1026 is Reg Z, which implements truth in lending. You see here on page 3 what the split is and where the various parts of this are found. Now, that's important because when you're looking at things like continuity of contact, loss mitigation options, and so forth, you know that you're looking at something that falls within the reg that implements the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act. If your loan is not one that is subject to RESPA, then those particular provisions will not be applicable to your loan. Whereas Reg Z is broader in scope. You know, Reg X has the 7 different exemptions from the definition of federally related mortgage loan under RESPA. So if the loan consist of property of 25 or more acres, for example, it's exempt. If it's vacant land, it's exempt unless using the proceeds from the loan following the making of the loan there's going to be built or placed on the property a 1 to 4 family dwelling. So just always keep in mind which hat you should be wearing. Are you wearing your RESPA hat? Are you wearing your Reg Z hat when you're looking at these different things? On page 4, when it comes to which loans we're talking about, you have to actually look at the individual requirements. So as we go through each of these things, we're going to point out to you which types of loans they pertain to. But the overarching principle is all of these provisions are found within Reg X and Reg Z. And what that means to you is that if your loan is not primarily for a personal, family, or household